Hi, Margo.
Hi, Deanna. How are you?
I am doing great. And it's always a great day when I'm here with you for a session of Mom to Mom,
Yep.
where one of the moms, okay, both of the moms have lots of questions, but one of the moms is a licensed clinical psychologist, which really helps with great practical tips that we can use as
Right
parents
away.
working with our children.
Yep. That's the goal. Yeah, because
Yeah.
this is no matter how anybody tries to prep you for this job, it is never easy. So yes, I'm very glad we can have these conversations.
Me too. So, one thing I'm hearing, and this goes across the age span, even younger children, it seems, are getting more anxious lately. Certainly, as children get older, they're getting anxious. You're with your child, and you can tell they're starting to get anxious. What is something as a parent that you can try to do that, right on the spot to help your child maybe ease that anxiety in the moment?
Oh, I love that question. Thank you. It's absolutely not what you're going to think it is.
Okay.
Let's start with what it isn't. It's not
Mhm.
telling your child, calm down, honey, you're fine. Um, the best way to make somebody more anxious is to tell them
Mhm.
to stop being anxious or to tell them they have nothing to be anxious about. You're fine. Everything is fine.
Mhm.
As much as it's so, it's so tempting to do. You're trying to be comforting.
Right. You think you're allaying their fears by doing that.
Right, you're fine.
Mhm.
Everything is fine, or minimizing sometimes what they're going through. Oh, she won't be mad at you
Mhm.
tomorrow. Don't worry about that. Or, so you didn't do so well in practice today. Kids' sense of time is not like ours. We've just
Mhm.
been around much longer and our brains work differently. Overnight can feel like an enormous amount of time to a
Mhm.
teenager. You can't convince them otherwise. You will just be alienating them in terms of a conversation. So
Mhm.
so that's one of the things not to
Okay.
do, is to just say, "Oh, you're fine," or "Don't worry about it," or "Get some sleep, you'll feel better in the morning." All of those can be fine in context, but it's not the go-to intervention. So here's the thing you might not have thought of.
Mhm.
It's not starting with your child, it's starting with yourself.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So what you need to do first, and I do this with my teenagers.
Mhm.
Teenagers' brains are developed in such a way that the emotional centers of the brain come online really early.
Mhm.
Think of your 2-year-old, think of your 5-year-old, think of your 10-year-old, think of your 13-year-old. Think of your teenager. The emotional centers of their brains are very much online. And as we know, the thinking part, the rational part, the prefrontal
Mhm.
cortex is not so much online. So, why does that matter? Well, then they're all emotion and very little thought. And that's a literal thing.
What you're saying is that's why sometimes when people say that teenagers or kids can be more impulsive, it's because their emotional part of the brain is operating before the thinking part, and that, I guess, can come across as being impulsive and jumping to into
Yeah.
action or decisions.
Well,
Mhm.
it's impulsivity, it's emotionality. So,
Mhm.
I hate to say this is too much, it's over the top, but everything is really highly emotional,
Mhm.
or it can get there easily. So the first thing to think about is this is normal in a teenager.
Mhm.
That's normal in a teenager. And I know many adults who can be that way too. It's not as okay when we're an adult. Something
Mhm.
probably needs to change. There's
I know
something
some adults who are colicky for sure.
they're totally colicky. And you just want to burp them and say, oh. So that's the first thing to
Mhm.
realize is they may not be able to help it. This can be very normal. So what do
Mhm.
you do? There is a process called co-regulation,
Mhm.
and it starts from the time your infant is born. Kids, infants in particular, their nervous systems do not have the capacity for self-soothing. They use you for self-soothing. They use you for external soothing.
Mm.
Right? They
Mhm.
can't use you for self-soothing for a while. Then they'll remember you at some point and what did mommy say? And then
Mhm.
eventually they can do it themselves. But in the beginning, you are very much serving as the soothing object. So their nervous system is very dialed into your nervous system.
Mhm.
Meaning, if I'm in fight, flight, freeze, agitation, irritation, an emotional state, my teenager is going to pick that up.
Mm. Mhm.
Likewise, when they're in that state, I'm going to pick that up, and it's not conscious. anytime you walk into a room or you hop on a screen, and this is much harder to do on Zoom, so this might explain
Mhm.
some of the issues people are having in Zoom meetings, but when we walk into a room, immediately my eyes are scanning, my brain is scanning to
Mhm.
see safe, not safe, safe, not safe. If you and I have had a good relationship and
Mhm.
we're pretty safe with each other, it's a quick scan. It's more like, what mood are you in? Oh, okay,
Mhm.
that's how I need to respond to you. If we've had difficult interactions, that's going to be a much more complicated scanning. So if we've had regular conflict with our kids, or there's conflict between the parents,
Mm.
right, the kid is already going to
Oh,
be
you're already on edge if you have that kind of relationship with somebody.
right.
Oh,
Exactly.
interesting. Mhm.
So if your teenager starts to amp up, right,
Mhm.
and your system, you can guarantee that your system might amp up. Now, what is that
Mhm.
going to look like? You might get into fight, flight, or freeze. You might feel
Mhm.
numb and you're very monotone. You might
Mhm.
get aggressive and try to shut them down. You might say, I'm not speaking to you as long as you're like this, and you're going to
Mhm.
walk away. Those are fight, flight, and freeze responses. None
Mhm.
of which is probably really great for you or for your kid. It's very understandable. I've had many times with my,
Mhm.
but what
Mhm.
I really
Well, and it impacts you for the next hour. Like once you make
yes,
that fight, flight, or or freeze, and you have that reaction, you're going to stew for an hour. And especially if the anxiety was about something because something needs to be done now, it's really counterproductive for
is
sure.
really counterproductive.
Mhm.
Right. So, first of all, how many things really have to happen right now and how much do I just want them to? I want that
Mhm.
garbage to go out. Well, I want those dishes to get done. I want that homework to get done. So part of it is just the way I've sort of set it up in my own head.
Mhm.
However, back to the point of co-regulation, your
Mhm.
teenager, first of all, they're all about that sensory system, that monitoring you, that emotional regulation comes from their
Mhm.
right now is coming from the emotional centers of their brain. So if they pick up that you're in a bad mood, you're stressed,
Mhm.
that's already in the equation. So now we have your state, their emotional state that's kind of unregulated. If they start to amp up, chances are your nervous system is going to climb that state right with them. And
Mhm.
if they're angry, you're going to get angry. And it's if they're anxious, you might feel like, oh my gosh. If they're shut down, all of a sudden you're going to be, maybe you're tired. None of that is helpful.
Mhm. Okay, so the example that I'm thinking of in this case is you come across your child, maybe they've just gotten done with class or you haven't necessarily been interacting. So it's not a charged moment of asking them to do a chore, or even asking them to do something. You're just noticing that they
Mm,
seem anxious. You're noticing that they seem like they're a little bit stressed out. And so you
mhm.
as a parent want to walk in and say, "How can I help you?" So
Right.
with the co-regulation, first of all, this is a moment where you say, because I'm the mommy or because I'm the parent, you really, no matter what you're feeling as the parent, it sounds like you have to set the tone with that calmness when you're approaching your child to talk to them, no matter what they say to you at that point.
No matter what they say to you at that point. Now, that said, I do not
Mhm.
put up with disrespect.
Mhm.
That's
Sure.
me. They don't get to then just because you're upset, you don't get to be nasty to me. I don't do
Mhm.
that to you, you don't do that to me. End of story. And there are
Mhm.
consequences for that later. So if I notice that my kid, my
Mhm.
son, I have 2 boys, if I notice one of my sons is upset or they seem kind of stressed or their voice is going up or there's, I can see a look on their face because my nervous system is tracking theirs, I'm paying attention.
Mhm.
Um, First of all, know your child. Is it helpful for your child to go toward them? Does your child do better when
Mm.
space? And just because you might feel better if you can intervene, that might make
Oh,
things worse for them.
interesting.
Right.
Very interesting because you want to make sure your child's okay, but
Right.
then it might drive them crazy that you're maybe even hovering to ask them to be okay. Interesting.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. And then they do feel it like it's about you because it is. You want it for them, but in that
Mm.
moment, it's not what they're needing. So you have misread
Mhm.
their cue. You've misread what they're needing.
Mhm.
And this can be another huge source of
Mhm.
disconnection or
So it
conflict.
starts with you. You have to monitor kind of your own feelings. It starts with you, but it's not about you.
Not about you. That's a really
Mhm.
good way to put it, Deanna. Exactly. So
Mhm.
know your kid. if your child is one who does benefit, and sometimes it's different on different days. So you might need to say, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? No, not right now. Okay. Can I come back? Maybe I'll come back in 15, 20 minutes. What do you think? No, just leave me alone. 15 or 20 minutes, I might circle back and just say, hey, how's it going? And at that point, they might be coming down a little bit and they might say, all right, well, so what happened? And if they still say, I don't want to talk about it. Okay, well, honey, I'm here. Is there anything you need right now? No, just leave me alone. Okay, I'll leave them alone. Now, if they seem depressed, if somebody's depressed, they've expressed suicidal thoughts, that's a whole different story. But we're just being able to read what the child needs. Sometimes kids will burst into tears in those moments when you say, so what's going on? And they're like, oh, it's great. Then you just sit, shut your mouth, just be quiet. Just listen. You don't have to fix it. It's probably the worst thing you can do. They're at a stage of life where they need to start figuring it out. You listen and say, so how's the best way, or what do you think is the best way for you to handle this? What do you think you're going to do? And you talk about it, and they might come up with some outlandish scheme of what they're going to do to handle the situation. And you can say, okay, do you want to just go try that? Or do you want my 2 cents? Because I've been on the planet a little while. And sometimes they'll say yes, sometimes they'll say no. But the whole while, the co-regulation piece, Deanna, is I am breathing. I am in a regulated state. My feet are firmly on the ground. I have done the breathing before I go into the interaction. I know I've had a conversation with myself. This is not going to be about me. I need to just deal with what is coming my way. And as long as I can stay in that state, if they're already upset, I am not joining them up there, or I'll meet you and see you. I'll see you and raise you. I am then down here where their nervous system can begin to seek out my level, which is what a nervous system will do. So sometimes just sitting quietly, and I've done this, the basement is set up for my kids. There's a couch down there, and comfy couch. I like sitting down there too. The footrest goes up, and I'll bring down a book or something, and I'll read, or a paper or something that I'm working on, and I'll just sit there. And their nervous system is co-regulating with mine. Maybe they're playing a video game. And
you're not even talking. You're just in the space being calm.
That's what co-regulation can do. Because his nervous system, this is like your internal radar. Everybody has it. His nervous system can read what's happening with my nervous system and feel that I'm calm, and then he can start to come down. When he seems more calm and okay, then he's likely to have a conversation, even if it's just, you good? Yeah. Or no. Okay. And we just sit there some more. But I have to be in that regulated state. I can't be frenetic. I can't be busy. I'm really just calm. And once I am, my child can use that in me.
I really appreciate that advice so much. So really looking at yourself and being ready to engage by, even if it's just ready to be in the same space and calm. And that co-regulation, it's great because it does go back to, as you mentioned, when your kids are younger, mom used to be, or parents used to be the panacea. They cry, you pick them up, you hug them. I think they still look to that, whether they want to say it or not, as they get older. Exactly. And so I like the term now as almost a grown-up way per se, to keep going as your kids get older. So, and
quite frankly, this works in marriages too, but that's a conversation
for another time. Maybe we'll do that one offline. Thank you so much, Margo. This is wonderful. I absolutely love this chance to catch up. And, please subscribe on the YouTube channel so that you'll get notices when new videos come out, and send us your questions. So we'd love to cover them in a future session. Absolutely. All righty. See you next time.
Thank you, Deanna. See you all next time. Be well.